All problems are created by the mind. I first heard this about 5 years ago, listening to a Michael Singer lecture. He even said to underline the word all because the mind will try to find exceptions. And as I was walking this morning, I was reflecting that the mind always has a problem. There's never a moment where the mind isn't trying to solve something. By mind, I mean in the personal mind, the one that's always narrating, problem solving, evaluating, think of the future. The mind always has a problem. And I was dwelling on the fact that in each moment, when we just experience it fully, when we're present with that experience, there are no problems. All right, so we're left with this strange paradox where all the mind sees is problems, but when we really get to the root of it, we really get present in a moment, there are no problems. So think about it for yourself. Have a little reflection in this current moment. Slow things down. Are there any problems? The mind might think there are. The mind might try to evaluate your situation, but it will either think of the past or it will think of the future in terms of the problems that are arising. In terms of the moment, there might be things you have to deal with. There might be challenges. There might be obstacles in your way, but problems, there's just the experience. All right, so this is something I've wrestled with for a while, and I've been trying to figure out how to get into a more present state whilst acknowledging the mind will always come up with problems. So when I was younger and more naive, I thought I could just solve this by giving my mind what it wanted. My mind generally had a big problem that I was trying to fix, that I needed to fix, and once I did, it told me things will be good. So one of those was having success in my poker career. Once I achieve something, I make something of myself, then I can relax. My mind tricked me with that one for a while, and so I pursued that. Another one was finances. I was always broke growing up, had some financial troubles, let's call it. And my mind said, once you solve those, Adam, and you have the freedom to live fully and not worry about money, then there'll be no problems. Another one was my health, my body, looking how I wanted to look, being strong in the gym. Once you've got that to a certain level, problems fixed. So you go through this game of trying to solve the problems on the pretense that you will be happy, fulfilled. Almost like for me, it's like future me will have solved everything and then I can relax. And the mind really buys into this. The mind really tricks you that this is going to be true. But over time, once you start having some success with this game, I say success in terms of achieving goals, you realize it's a never-ending conveyor belt. Once you solve one problem, another one arises. It's almost like problem, solution, new problem, solution. And there is no endpoint. The mind can't relax. Even if you have everything you want, let's say you had your dream life, do you think the mind will relax? The mind will now start going, we can't lose this. Let's worry about protecting. Don't lose what we've got. The mind always creates a problem. So yeah, achieving goals for me didn't solve it. So I went to a different path, which was to quiet the mind. And I spent the last 10 years meditating every day. My morning routine involves a daily meditation. And then recently, at the start of the year, I did a Vipassana 10-day silent retreat where I would get really still for 10 days and really observe the mind. And I thought this would be a great way to finally get some peace from this busy mind and come back with a quiet mind. Now, on that 10-day silent retreat, I had some massive breakthroughs and really saw some things very clearly. However, my mind was still very active. And when I returned to my normal everyday life, my mind was back trying to solve problems. Slightly different problems. It was now looking at problems like, what's my purpose in life? And how do I find peace in a busy world? But the same pretense was there. It's the same mechanism of, I need to solve this situation so that future me can be happy. I need to find an answer to this situation that's currently unfolding so in the future, I can relax. I can be at peace. I can be at one with myself. And this is the trap that I think many of us get stuck in. We get stuck in this trying to fix things, trying to achieve goals so that we'll feel good in the future. And this led me to really start to reflect recently on what I can do about this. Because on one avenue, I am quite goal-driven. I like to achieve stuff. I like to set out on a path to try to get what I want in life, whether it's financial goals, whether it's gym goals, whether it's just building a business goals. I like to set a direction. But I also realized that being in the moment, being more present, being less attached to those goals and outcomes is where I will be more happy. So with my kind of reflection, I'm starting to think about how do you wrestle with this? How do you reconcile the fact that the mind always has problems, yet there are no problems? So I could relay what I've read, what I've heard gurus and spiritual teachers say, but for me, that's not necessarily been my experience. What has been true for me, what I've started to observe in my own life, is two things. Firstly, when I live more presently in the current moment, I'm happier. I feel more alive, I feel more fulfilled, I feel myself, if that is a true thing, my true self. Whereas when I live in the future, the second realization, when I live in the future, I'm not as happy. I'm more frustrated. I'm more tense. Now, the future could even be a very meaningful goal. It could be a very purposeful, driven goal you're working towards. But because I'm living in a state of trying to get somewhere, there's always a level of tension. There's always a level of need to make things happen, need to get there quickly, need to arrive somewhere, need to solve this so that future me can be happy. So when I've looked at this and I've tried to go, right, how do I come to terms with the fact I want to achieve goals, but I also want to be happy in the moments I'm living? What is the answer? For me, the answer, as cliche as this might sound, I'll try to expand on it, is to do things for their own sake and to make the activity of doing something, the action of doing something, the achievement, rather than the result you get from the action, the achievement. All right, so let me kind of break that down so it doesn't sound like some self-help drivel. Basically, we often do things to get somewhere. So let's say I start a meditation habit. I'm often meditating so that I can, in the future, have a quiet mind, a still mind. Whereas doing things for their own sake is I'm meditating because in this moment, that's a really good use of my time. I'm enjoying that process of doing that. Another one could be the gym. Going to the gym to get strong. And myself, I do powerlifting, so I set lifting goals, a target of where I want to be in 12 weeks. And if I get too into that, I lose sight of the main thing. Today, there's a weight in front of you. Lift that weight. Go all out, fully connect with the moment, and give your all to the moment. If you lift it, great. If you don't, who cares? So it's that connection with that. And even YouTube videos. Right now, I'm shooting these daily videos, whereas before I was thinking about what kind of videos I wanted to do in 12 weeks' time, or 2 months' time, or a year's time. When in reality, it's like, today, this is my best effort. This is the idea I woke up with this morning, and I'm going to shoot a video. It's not going to be the most crisp, polished work of all time, but it's going to be a raw idea that I'm putting out there and being okay with that. And for myself, the more I can simplify this into doing the actions, setting a direction. So direction for your life of where you're trying to go is important. But for most of it, just can you be living the moment and doing the action that you're doing? All right. So when I've simplified my life, rather than trying to do something perfect, if I can read each day, if I can write for a few hours, and I can shoot a video on the insights, the experiences I'm having in a day, amazing. That is the best I can do. There's nothing more than that. That is all I've got. And a part of me feels vulnerable about that because there's an element of you feel inadequate in the moments, but if you think about it enough, you can create a vision of you in the future which doesn't have problems and which is good enough. So myself, I can escape any insecurity in the moments by projecting into the future where I don't have those problems. I've leveled up. I've become a better version of myself. And that's the trick and the trap that we fall into. This is the trick of the minds as I see it, where we think that in the future we won't have problems. Newsflash, you will. So the more we can get in touch with the current moment and just live the current moment, current experience, current day in its complete self, that is the key, at least for me personally. Now, this is something that you need to learn for yourself. This is a lesson that you can't really teach. You have to experience. It's something I've heard many, many times over many years. And on my, say, 10, 15 years of personal development journey, I'm only recently, very recently, starting to ingrain this, to actually understand what it means to not live in the future, to be more present. It's one of those things where you have to apply it to your life. What would that mean to show up in a present way while still pursuing goals? The thing is that the goals just become a secondary thing. You just know you're on your path to them and you don't worry about them. All you have is an action to take right now. So yeah, hopefully this resonated with you in some way. It's got you thinking about how you're showing up, and maybe you're seeing the mind as always creating problems. And this is a bit of a wake up to try to connect with what you're doing more fully, connect with the current moment, not as a means to an end to try to get somewhere, but as a own sake, as its own thing to just do something completely. And the more of those moments you stack up, the more enjoyable life is, and the more you start living, and the more you can get away from the mind always trying to project that you will find a way to find peace in the future. And that's been my biggest lesson today.